Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're here to dig into great sources and pull out the key insights for you. Today, it's all about the memoir Becoming Myself by the really renowned psychiatrist and author Irvin Yalom. If you've ever sort of wrestled with those big life questions or, found yourself at a crossroads, personally or professionally, then this one's definitely for you. Our mission today is to unpack how one person's pretty unique life journey, his struggles, his insights, those surprising choices he made, how all that shaped him and, well, also ended up changing therapy itself.
Yeah, exactly. This isn't just like a timeline of his life. It's really a deep dive into what it means to understand yourself and then through that understand other people better. We'll see how his early life, some decisions that maybe seemed small at the time, even a bit of luck, really forged this incredible career helping people deal with their anguish. What's so fascinating, I think, is how his own personal stuff, his vulnerabilities, actually became the source material for his, well, groundbreaking therapeutic ideas.
Okay, so let's get into it. Starting right at the beginning, Yalom's childhood. He says he felt really out of place. He grew up in Washington, D.C., low-income area, segregated. His dad ran a little grocery store. And he felt like an outsider, didn't he? Like the only white kid in the black neighborhood, the only Jew in a Christian world. How did that feeling start shaping him?
Well, that sense of being an outsider really became a core part of how he saw things. It fostered, I think, a deep empathy for people on the margins, And his home life, well, that definitely added layers. His mother, he recalls, was super critical. He even tells this story, this chilling moment where she blamed him for his father's chest pain, shouting, You killed him." He admits their relationship was strained for years.
Wow, that's intense.
Yeah. And it contrasts so much with his father, who was quiet, worked incredibly hard at the store. Their main connection was chess. It was like their shared language. His dad wasn't around much physically, but over the chessboard, Yalom got this focused attention, this approval, even when Yalom started winning all the time by age 10.
That's such a vivid image, isn't it? That quiet intellectual connection amidst chaos. He remembers drunks in the doorway, roaches, rats, even being called Jew boy. But then there was this one moment, a really powerful one, that set his future course.
Absolutely. His father had a heart attack. He was only 46. The family doctor, Dr. Manchester, came to the house, and he was just incredibly calming. He told young Yalom, who was terrified, "See, Sonny, it's ticking away, strong and regular as a clock. Not to worry. He's going to be all right." And Yalom said that night he made this huge decision. "Then and there I decided to be like him. I would be a doctor and pass on to others the comfort he had offered me."
That's amazing. Such a clear path, born out of a crisis.
It wasn't just about the medicine, you see. It was about easing suffering.
And his self-education laid some interesting groundwork, too. The public library, his second home, a refuge, really. A way to escape into, as he put it, a larger world of history and culture and ideas, and practically speaking, it kept him off the dangerous streets.
Yeah, but it was more than just reading, wasn't it? It was like an active project. He gave himself this assignment, the AZ biography project.
Right.
He read about everyone from Henry Armstrong, the boxer, to Edward Jenner, the smallpox vaccine guy who became his hero. And here's where you see that philosophical mind kicking in early. He actually wondered if Jenner saved more lives than Genghis Khan destroyed.
That's incredible. Already wrestling with those huge existential questions. Life, death, creation, destruction.
Exactly. It foreshadows everything that came later. And it was in the end section he first met this weird dude named Friedrich Nietzsche.
Fascinating. But he wasn't just bookish, right? He had some other less studious habits.
Oh, yeah. He admits to what he calls a gambling problem. Started with baseball cards, then playing the numbers at his dad's store, which had been converted from a liquor store. He'd sneak nickels and dimes from the register to place bets, even though his dad told him it was a fool's game.
So an early taste of risk-taking. And maybe navigating a tricky environment.
I think so. It shows the independent streak, maybe a willingness to bend the rules a bit, which probably served him well later when he challenged therapy norms. And that unruliness, it also came out as rebellion against cultural stuff. He hated preparing for his bar mitzvah, claimed he had pseudo-dementia so he couldn't learn Hebrew.
Pseudo-dementia, seriously.
Seriously. And he openly mocked the kosher food laws, felt they stopped him from being American, like not being able to grab a hot dog at a baseball game with his buddies. So that drive for self-determination, that sort of contrarian spirit, it was there early on.
Okay, so moving on to college. The pressure sounds like it really ramped up. He got into George Washington University on a big scholarship, the McKay Carr Scholarship. Full ride, but getting into medical school, That was a whole different ballgame, especially with the anti-Semitism back then.
Oh, absolutely crucial point. Medical schools had these strict quotas, right? Like 5% for Jewish students. At GW, that meant only 5 spots in a class of 100. He said the competition was just overwhelming and deeply unfair.
So how did he handle that systemic prejudice?
His strategy was basically work harder than everyone else, become a super A student, force them to accept him. But the anxiety was immense. He talks about bitten fingernails, chest pressure, insomnia so bad he needed sleeping pills, just almost unbearable.
And looking back, he felt he didn't really fight the unfairness.
Yeah, what's really insightful is how he reflected on it later. He said he kind of bought into the worldview of my oppressors, attributed it to a lack of self-esteem at the time, which is profound, right? Understanding how society's pressures get internalized. That's a theme he'd explore so much in his therapy work.
But amidst all that grind, he found something he loved: literature courses.
Yes, that's where he felt alive. Modern American poetry, world drama, the rise of the novel. He just lit up in those classes.
And wasn't there one professor who actually noticed him?
Right. In his world drama class, the professor critiqued his paper on Prometheus Bound and then asked him, point blank, if he'd ever thought about a career in the humanities. Yalom said it was the only professor who even knew his name. And those experiences, that passion for literature, that's what pointed him towards psychiatry. He saw it as a way to stay close to the great writers he admired.
Okay, so psychiatry it is. And his first patient experience sounds, well, formative.
Absolutely. As a medical student in Boston, his first patient, Muriel, told him she was a lesbian. And Yalom, he just admitted he didn't even know what the term meant. He asked her to explain it to him.
Wow. Just straight up honesty.
Exactly, and that vulnerability, admitting his ignorance, was huge for both of them. Muriel later said his honesty was what allowed her to be open with him. It was like an accidental masterclass in authenticity, a total departure from the detached therapist model back then, showing that healing starts with shared vulnerability, not just expertise.
That's a powerful lesson.
Yep.
And then during his internship at Mount Sinai, there was that poker game.
Oh yeah, the mysterious Dr. Blackwood. That was the code name to page players for this high-stakes game. Yalom lost at first, but then he learned to read the game. One enough to take his wife, Marilyn, to Broadway shows. Another little brush with risk in reading people, maybe.
Definitely. And he also experimented with LSD, provided by researchers.
Yes. Towards the end of his internship, he got a first-hand look at how perception could change. Said his wallpaper changed colors, music sounded different. He saw it as a potentially powerful tool, though, not recreational. And his first published article actually distinguished LSD experiences from psychosis.
Why was that distinction important back then?
Well, it was pretty crucial. Psychiatry was trying to figure out altered states. Psychedelics were often just dismissed as causing illness. Yalom's paper argued for a more nuanced view, seeing their potential, kind of laid the groundwork for later therapeutic research, way before it was mainstream.
Okay, so he's got these experiences under his belt.
Yeah.
Then military service in Hawaii.
Yep. After residency, he called it paradise. Got really into snorkeling, scuba diving, started a psychiatrist poker game that apparently lasted for decades, played chess intensely with a neighbor. It sounds like a really important time for him personally and intellectually. A bit of freedom.
And then came the big move. Stanford.
Right. He took a junior faculty job there. And here's the thing. He took it for less money than his Army pay. Turned down a better offer from UCSF. It was a very conscious choice. He wanted to teach and do research, not go into lucrative private practice. He knew he wanted that life of teaching and research.
That's a definite statement. And it marks this shift, right? Away from pure medical science towards philosophy, literature.
Absolutely. He said he felt like a dabbler at first among all the established academics, but he just dove into existential thinkers, Nietzsche, Sartre, Camus, Schopenhauer. He even started co-teaching courses with English professors like Death and Fiction with his wife, Marilyn.
And that's when he discovered Rollo May.
Yes, finding May's book Existence was huge for him. A real turning point. It wasn't just another textbook. It opened the door to Kierkegaard, Nietzsche, all these thinkers. It offered this humanistic alternative to the dominant psychoanalytic and biological models. Drawing on 2,500 years of philosophy, it really spoke to him.
And there's that touching story about the signed copy.
Oh, yeah. Years later, he found his own copy of Existence and saw May had signed it. For Irv, a colleague from whom I learned existential psychotherapy, he said it brought him to tears.
Wow. What does a moment like that do for someone forging a new path? That kind of validation.
It's incredibly powerful, isn't it, to have a respected mentor not just acknowledge you, but see you as an equal, a fellow learner. It really cemented his confidence. And his connection with May, who wasn't afraid of Yalom's darkest inquiries about mortality, helped Yalom feel okay working with dying patients himself. It shows the power of that kind of mentorship, intellectual and emotional.
So this leads him to focus on death confrontation in therapy, partly driven by his own fear of dying at 69, like his father. And he starts something pretty radical for the time.
Totally groundbreaking. Early 1970s, he starts group therapy for cancer patients. This was when terminal illness was mostly seen as just a physical thing. He worked with patients like Paula West, he wrote about her later, and Sal, this guy with multiple myeloma in a full-body cast. And they found incredible meaning, even joy, by facing death together in these groups. Sal even started ministering to high school kids, telling them, "You don't want it? Well, then give me your body. Let me have it. I'll take it. I want to live."
That's unbelievably powerful. Finding that will to live, that meaning right there. And the patients were okay being observed by students.
Yeah, through a two-way mirror, they were eager to share what they were learning about living. It just shows the kind of honest, open space Yalom created. Sadly, those early session tapes with Rollo May got lost, stored in his office, disappeared during a renovation. He still hopes they might turn up online someday, a real lost treasure.
Definitely. So alongside this clinical work he's writing, his big book, The Theory and Practice of Group Psychotherapy, becomes a classic. But he also moves into fiction. And the idea for When Nietzsche Wept came during a storm.
Yeah, in the Seychelles, he was stuck on how to write it, then had this flash, turn it around. Instead of Brewer treating Nietzsche, what if Nietzsche became the therapist? That role-switching idea unlocked it, and the book was huge internationally. Especially Vienna, the mayor, gave away 100,000 free copies.
Incredible. And Lying on the Couch, that title's a clever play on words.
Right, deception and psychotherapy. He tackled tough questions there, like therapist, self-disclosure, ethics, and then there was the fat lady story in Love's Executioner that caused a stir.
How so?
Well, some women reacted negatively, but for many young therapists, it was a huge relief because he talked so openly about countertransference, the therapist's own messy emotional reactions to patients. That kind of honesty was revolutionary then. It helped therapists acknowledge their own humanity in the room instead of pretending to be totally detached.
Makes sense. He also wrote nonfiction about death anxiety, Staring at the Sun.
Yep, drawing on philosophy like Epicurus's symmetry argument, basically. Being dead is like not being born yet, and we don't fear that, so why fear death? And he used literary examples, like Scrooge changing after seeing his grave, to show how facing death can actually spur positive life changes. Oh, and the gift of therapy. That came from his thoughts for teaching. File years of notes and clinical insights, a really practical guide.
Beyond the writing and therapy, community seems vital for him too. That leaderless group of therapists met for 24 years.
Yeah, bi-weekly. It was crucial. Comradeship, supervision, personal growth, a space to be vulnerable, even for an expert. He said it was invaluable, especially as they dealt with tough stuff like members getting dementia. He even talks about his own crumbling memory, losing keys, names, his wallet.
He's very candid about aging.
Very. He worries his group might make him get tested someday. It highlights those universal fears, even for someone who studies existential dread.
And he's still in a writing group, Pegasus.
For medical doctors, yeah. They critique each other's work. He mentioned they liked the first part of his memoir way more than the rest. That ongoing learning, that peer support seems totally central to keeping him sharp and pushing boundaries.
He does reflect on aging quite openly, though. Feeling like the oldest guy at conferences, seeing psychiatry advance in ways that have passed him by.
Right. And watching that film, Memoir, about aging and end-of-life care, he said it haunted him, kept him up at night, worrying about Marilyn. It's that stark reminder of universal fears. But facing them directly, perhaps, deepens his empathy, you know?
Despite those challenges, there's so much connection and gratitude in his reflections. That bronze bust from the Greek sculptor.
Yeah, he said it spooks him. It's such a good likeness. But it affirms him, too. He even thinks his age and reputation make him more effective now. Patients seek him out because of his writing.
And his memories of mentors, Rogers, Frankel, may sound so vivid.
He says their faces are still clear in his mind, shows the lasting impact of those connections. And that story about John Whitehorn, his old chief, summoning him to his deathbed, later finding that letter where Whitehorn predicted he'd be a leader of American psychiatry.
Wow, that's like passing the torch.
Exactly. Whitehorn saw him as someone to carry on the work. It's a powerful sense of legacy.
And his reach became truly global. Workshops in Turkey, Greece, that weird cash payment in Moscow, a video conference to China seen by nearly 200,000 people.
Incredible reach. And I love the story about the Swiss filmmaker Sabine Giesiger. She wanted to film him because she needed a decent person after making a film about a cult leader. He said that won him over, speaks volumes.
So, as he wraps up the memoir, his philosophy is about aspiring to a regret-free life. Lots of gratitude for Marilyn, his kids, grandkids, his life in Palo Alto, those letters from readers.
Yeah. And he ends it with that amazing line from Nietzsche's Zarathustra. Was that life? Well, then once again. It just sums it all up, doesn't it? A life lived with intention, curiosity, vulnerability, always trying to understand and help ease suffering.
So what's the big takeaway here? We've followed this incredible journey, introspection, chance discoveries, tackling his own anxieties head-on, all leading to profound insights and new ways to heal.
What really stands out, I think, is that a life of deep thinking isn't usually neat or straightforward. It gets shaped by surprising meetings, by facing your own weak spots and having the guts to look at hard truths inside yourself and out in the world. So maybe the question for you, listening, is what connections jumped out at you between Yalom's personal life and his professional impact? How might his journey spark something in your own search for understanding, whether it's understanding yourself or understanding others?